Welcome to the Warcraft Movie Presentation Panel. Your panelists are Duncan Jones, Rob Pardo, Chris Metzen, Bill Westenhofer, and Nick Carpenter. What up, BlizzCon?
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Warcraft Movie Panel. So we did this, I think 3 years ago we did something like this. But this time I think it's going to be 10 times as exciting because we actually have a release date for the movie. So I want to introduce everyone on the panel. So to my right is Duncan Jones. He is the director for the Warcraft movie. He's directed a couple really awesome films, if you guys have seen Moon or Source Code. And more importantly, to you guys, I think Duncan has been playing Warcraft games since Warcraft 1, played Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft, even played Lost Vikings.
Amiga!
I think you guys all know the gentleman to my left, which is Chris Metzen, the guy in charge of all lore and story and franchise direction in Blizzard, and pretty much just the soul of Blizzard. So he'll be able to talk a lot more about the movie and what we've been trying to do with it. And then to his left is Bill Westenhofer. Bill is the special effects supervisor for the film. He's actually won the Oscar twice for Life of Pi and The Golden Compass. But really, I don't think you guys should care about that. What's really important is that he has a level 90 Alliance mage and several other
A lot of horde out there, I hear.
Horde, you out there?
And then to Bill's left is Nick Carpenter. Nick is our VP of Cinematics, and he's really the guy that's responsible for all the awesome Blizzard films. Did you guys see the Heroes of the Storm cinematic yesterday? Well, that is the work of Nick and his talented department. So thank you all for coming. And what I want to do, I'm going to kind of moderate the panel and kind of serve up questions to these guys and just try to get them to talk as much as possible. The one thing I will kind of put out there as a disclaimer is we're still over 2 years away from the movie actually being released, and we haven't even started filming yet. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is really these guys' background, you know, kind of what they've been doing with trying to do all the pre-production on the movie. But there's really not a ton of brand new information that we can reveal because they haven't even started marketing the film yet, so we got a ways to go. All right, with all that out of the way, maybe Duncan, you can kind of start and just talk a little bit about why you like the Warcraft franchise, why you decided to take this on.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoa, I'm loud. I've been playing games for a while and used to be involved in another franchise playing it, Ultima Online. I started a clan for that, played that for a few years as a beta tester, and then our whole clan kind of migrated over to Warcraft, World of Warcraft when that came out, and was a huge fan of the game, playing it for a couple of years before I started, getting very busy with my first feature film, Moon. And after Moon, I did Source Code. After Source Code, I was kind of really at a place where I had the opportunity to do a couple of different franchise films, but I was already aware that Warcraft was out there and that they were trying to make it into a movie, and it had been taking a little bit of time. And I constantly, my producing partner and I had kept on checking in with the production to find out, what's going on with it. When's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is there, any chance? Maybe I can get involved. And fortunately, or unfortunately for other people, but fortunately for me, the opportunity arose, and I was given the opportunity to read the script. that was available at that time. And I was like, oh, this is so great, but...
We say that all the time too.
And it was you know, I wanted it to be the Warcraft that in my heart I felt, you know, the film deserved to be. And at that time, it was very human-centric, very alliance-centric. And I thought, no, you know, if we're going to make this into a movie, it's got to be what the original Warcrafts always were, which is you can be a hero no matter what side you're on, and it's about both sides. It's got to be red and blue.
Well, I mean, on that point, you know, the first day we met, we had been working through kind of versions of the story for a very long time, which you guys know, and having that balance represented was something that was very important to us. And in certain iterations of the stories we had had, the first day we met Duncan, he was just like, this has to happen. And we had kind of been told from time to time, like, it's too much. The audiences really want to focus on one or another. And we had just done this dance, and the first day we met this guy, it's just like, it's got to be this. And we're like, oh, yes.
Well, and the funny thing about that, too, was just that I think we had always wanted to see, you know, that other side, the orcs, brought much more forward. Yeah. And, you know, it always felt like, oh, the audience doesn't really want that. And lo and behold, you know, Duncan came in and pitched to us, and he was worried that we weren't going to go for it. You know, he was like coming in going, I don't know if the Blizzard guys are going to like my pitch, going to like the way we're going with it. And then I think just me and Chris we're holding each other
across
like,
the table going, is this happening?
And then another thing, too, which I think got us really excited to work with Duncan was, you know, you'd been turning down other films. Like, you know, after you did Source Code, you know, I think you had a lot of people knocking on your door and really wanted you to work on other films, and you kept on moving out.
You know, there was opportunities, but it's so easy to get sucked into franchises that maybe you don't have the connection to. And I think for me, Warcraft was an opportunity to be involved in something where I actually really gave a shit. You know, and I really wanted it to be what I had loved when I was playing it. So that, yeah, and you know, about that pitch, I mean, the fact that we were going to try and make sure that if we were going to do this as a film, we needed to really make sure that our audience, beyond, you know, people who know Warcraft, everyone understood that if you're, you know, the orc heroes, you have to feel as empathetic and care about them and their situation and why they're doing what they're doing as you do about any of the human beings.
Well, I think that's one of the things that makes Warcraft a lot more unique and separated from something like Lord of the Rings, right? You know, it's that the orcs, the red side, they're not just bad guys. You know, they are characters and they have a viewpoint.
Sound.
Hold on, one at a time.
Sound. Yeah. All right. So, Bill, maybe you can talk a little bit about how you got started working with Warcraft and what you know, kind of your play experience.
Sure. Can you hear me? Is that better? So this was interesting. I'll start for a second with when I interviewed for this job. I sat down, and the very first thing that the producers asked me is if I knew anything about the Warcraft universe. And I just about spit up my coffee because I started playing Warcraft in the alpha test way back in 2004. In fact, it became so obsessive, I was on the set of Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, and I had to dedicate a couple hours to make sure I got, you know, can keep going and get my character leveled and get the dungeon run in. I even, you got to do what you got to do, right? I was working on Golden Compass, and that was in London, and my guild was back here in the States, so I did get up at 2 in the morning a couple times to do a Blackwing Lair run. So, with that point, I want to you know, emphasize the fact, you know, with the people who are working on this film, these are Warcraft fans who are making this, and we're going to make sure that it's really special and that everyone's proud of what they have to see. So, specifically for the characters in the film, we're doing live action with CGI. It's an extremely complex endeavor for the visual effects side. A lot of times I liken this to Avatar meets Game of Thrones in terms of the level of complexity of what we're doing. We are using real actors for the orcs. The orcs are going to be as emotive, and like Duncan said, you have to believe them as much as any human character. So we're striving incredibly hard with minute detail to make them as real as possible. This is going to be gritty and real. The guys get dirty. There's, you're down with the characters when they're fighting, but we are dedicating this, and in fact, we have an incredible team at Industrial Light and Magic who is working on the orcs for us. So it's in good hands, and you all will be very proud of it.
So maybe Duncan and Chris, you guys can talk a little bit more about kind of trying to adapt the lore and the storyline and really make it feel like an authentic Warcraft movie.
I mean, I think one of the real difficult decisions we had was what part of the lore to focus in on. You guys have achieved such a huge, vast timeline and so many different stories and memorable characters. It was really about picking what worked for us, and also what really got to the root of what Warcraft is and where it came from, without saying too much.
Oh, well, this feels like quicksand. Right. Because we had been working on multiple iterations of a story, for the years, coming up before we had met, and it was kind of this tap dance between, you focus on, all these different races. Each faction really has a number of races with distinct stories, and ultimately the community, everyone wants to see their thing. Like where's my troll movie? And we sit and go, troll movie, trip out. You're really good. I don't know. So it was kind of a process of kind of honing in on what are the themes that are the most universal, right? If it's going to be difficult to construct a story that really sings to everybody's specific faction or racial reality, the trick was can we find that perfect touch point that really has the broadest Warcraft themes that I think everybody gets.
Well, like one of the things that I think we talk a lot about is that Warcraft is such a huge franchise that it's almost like, where do you shine the spotlight? Because there's really no way that you can translate what everyone here has experienced in the game into a single movie. So a lot is figuring out which part of it you want to do, and also what characters do you want to bring forward, because aren't movies a lot more about kind of the characters rather than about the world?
And how much time do you spend in the Lion's Pride?
Exactly. A lot.
So one of the things I think is going to be pretty exciting to people here, though, is maybe talking a little bit about the locations, and the places that we're going to be able to show within the movie itself.
Well, I mean, this seems like an opportunity. We have a couple of pieces of very early concept artwork that we could show, if you're interested in that.
Do you guys want to see some concept art?
Pushing the magic button. Let's see if that works.
Uh-oh. There we go.
So we got, is that Drenor? Oh yeah, fantastic. So this is like an early piece of Drenor. And, again, one of the things that we needed to work out is just where the story takes place and how much of it takes place in each location in order to really give a sense of the grandness and scale of the world. This is an environment, obviously, we felt very passionately about making sure was in there. Anyone recognize that? So this is another piece. This is Dalaran. One of the things we should really mention also is the amazing team that we have around us working with us on the film. The production designer on the film is Gavin Bouquet, who worked on a number of different Star Wars films, ironically.
Yes, Star Wars.
Yes, Star Wars. And then we've been working with also with Blizzard's artists as well. There's a number of artists we've been working with from you guys.
Yes. Nick's team has been great, helping and bringing a lot of the DNA from Warcraft, and in particular, Wei Wang has lent a hand on designing creatures for us, and it's really incredible to see the detail and the work. You're going to see it's as if this world existed first, and what you've been seeing all along is an interpretation, and you're going to see a real orc, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we've had a chance to work pretty closely with you guys, and really realize Duncan's vision. And you guys, from what I've seen, it's not going to disappoint. It looks like a Warcraft feature film, and it's mind-blowing.
That's a little bit of Iron Forge.
It strikes me that one of the really interesting things to have watched over the past 6 months, as Duncan's team has been doing a lot of design, and I've had a little bit more visibility into what Nick's group has been doing. It strikes me that when we're just doing this work, let's say we're building an expansion set, or we're just working on the game, it's like so often we'll have a vision, we'll have an idea like Dalaran or Ironforge or any of these spaces. And when you're building it for purposes of a video game, you're kind of constricted by how many polygons you can put into a scene, how you block a scene, player traffic and flow through a city. Like, there's so many design constraints, or design strengths really, but that kind of demand things of your vision. Oh, we gotta put a window here, we gotta take out this hallway and do this, and it's kind of an exacting science. So one of the really fun things about watching this production process go has been that these guys are kind of freed to kind of capture the vibe of these areas, but kind of explode it out a little bit. Make these areas feel more cinematic, make them feel a little more lived in, a little more grand than what we can literally do in the game. Like that, Alliance?
And
I feel like home?
And not to make you all jealous, but I did have a little geek out moment when I realized that I was actually going to be standing in Ironforge and work in Stormwind. So that I'm pretty excited about.
I mean, I think one of the most fun things for us about working on a film like this at the scale we're doing it at is we actually get to physically build a lot of locations in the film. So
you mentioned Lion's Pride Inn. So everyone on the Alliance side, one of the first things they saw was the inn in Goldshire.
You can just imagine, what our production parties are going to be like and where they're going to be.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's even that. It's like, looking at a lot of these big marquee areas, which are super exciting. But just things like, no, we're gonna plant a shot at the Lion's Pride Inn. I was just like, it's like I've almost spent more time, well, I hate to say this, but like in Goldshire, right? After X number of characters over the years, but it's just so familiar, right? Yeah. It's just the grassroots of Warcraft, and there's obviously places like that all over the world, but I love that this potentially takes us to kind of more the intimate spots as well that are almost as familiar, right? Well, the one thing, I don't know if we've ever said this before, guys, but I think you will all agree, is that when we talk about Warcraft, we talk about this big franchise, and someone's rocking in the other hall. We talk about this thing, and you talk about the main characters or the plot lines or some of the big chapters that have come before. But the trick is, you know what character is most famous in World of Warcraft to all of us? Hogger. The character that is most famous is the world itself. You might have met Thrall, and you might have fought the Lich King, and you may have found Hogger over there in Elwyn, but I guarantee you we've all spent X number of hours in the Barrens and Westfall, and it's almost like the placement of the trees and the roads and the vibe and the color palettes. It's actually, most of the engagement we've had is literally in the world itself, and that's been a really major value of ours is in translating to film and making this thing cinematic. It's finding those values. Almost like, you guys remember yesterday we were talking about like the player models, like don't break it, right? It's the point of maximum familiarity. Sure, you can reanimate everything, and sure, you can blow the polygons out, but that's not where the flavor is. It's not where our hearts are, or the visuals that we're so connected to. So that value is critically important, that we kind of pull out the nuances of these areas with maximum familiarity. It just feels right, even though it's a little grander for storytelling purposes.
So Duncan, like you kind of mentioned one of the other people that is not on stage that's been working on the film, but maybe you can kind of tell the audience here about some of the other people that are working on the film, and kind of reassure them that Warcraft's in good hands.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the people that I wanted to mention is Maez Rubio, who's doing our wardrobe and costume design, and that has become an incredibly important and interesting puzzle for us to solve, because obviously half of our cast is live action and real, and that's a very traditional route. But with half of our cast being virtual, being performed by actors but using motion capture technology, it's like, how do you actually approach that as far as how you costume those characters? So we're actually, even though they're not going to be performing in the costumes, we actually have to have them for photographic references, and so that we can actually see on camera what those costumes look like, how they move, how gravity affects them. So we've actually started making orc costumes at full scale, which are really incredible. Great, yeah. and Maez worked on Avatar and also on Apocalypto as well. So I think for what we're trying to do, she was just the perfect person for that.
It just shows that that's the level of detail that we're after and seeking to put into this, getting down to how a rivet attaches and how the leather straps from a pauldron are weaved in. And by building it real, we're getting that stuff as detailed and interesting as possible.
So it's probably safe to say that Maez would always win the costume contest year over year.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Other people I'm working with is Paul Hirsch is the editor that I worked with on Source Code, and has an amazing body of work. He worked on Empire Strikes Back, won an Oscar on Ray. He did Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Just a crazy, eclectic body of work. He's an institution in the industry and an amazing editor.
Cool. Maybe Bill and Nick, you guys can maybe talk a little bit about what it's like to try to translate Warcraft into visuals. I know you talked about it a little bit, but obviously it's going to be a real big challenge to make orcs and do orcs that have acting, how you take these goofy, cartoony-looking characters that we create and make them photorealistic, but still Warcraft.
Well, I mean, funny enough, in the cinematics department, we do this all the time. We work very closely with the game teams and try to translate that into a much higher resolution space. And so when we had a chance to be a part of this, the discipline is very similar, except they're just going so much further. And, I mean, like Chris was saying, we've seen all these spaces. We'll make a concept, I'm like, wow, we're seeing it from game and then actually translate to concept, and then what these guys are going to do with it, it's absolutely amazing. And, I can't tell you guys enough, it's absolutely in the right hands. Trust this guy, he's gonna make an amazing film.
It's fun. It's we want to do it as much justice as possible, and we're pushing the technology. We're doing on-set motion capture, a lot of technical jargon, but it's the kind of thing that we're really the orcs aren't going to be. They're not monsters. They're really going to act. They're going to have personalities. And then the level of detail is we'll go to lengths to build a real costume. We'll build full-size lighting maquettes just to get all the details just right.
And there's a constantly moving frontier, I think, on that technology as well. Exactly. And you see it from the Planet of the Apes movies to Avatar earlier on, and what they did with Mark Ruffalo in the Hulk as the Hulk in the Avengers movie.
Absolutely.
In fact, it's we're working with the same team.
Yes.
That did the Hulk on the ILM movie.
Right.
And we're benefiting, I think, from the fact that we're working with people in Alex Gartner and Chuck Roven, who Chuck Roven, who worked on the Batman movies, was producing those, and Legendary and that team, who've actually given us the support to make a film the way we think it needs to be made.
Absolutely. In the environments as well, where what you're going to see, the concept art, it's going to look, you'll recognize it as the environment, but it's going to look completely real. If we're doing Elwyn Forest, there's trees, and perhaps the size of the trees and the distribution are something you might not see in this world, but the fine detail is something that looks completely photographic. So it's that kind of thing. That's how we're trying to push a realistic, amazing vision of what you've seen in the games and what you're familiar with.
Yeah, just keeping the spirit, and when you guys go through this experience, it's going to feel like you're living in this world. I mean, like he was just saying with the trees, they talk about the bark, and we look at in-game screenshots, and we're like, how do we translate that into physical prop? And I mean, down to the roots and the leaves, you guys. Like, when we talk about some of these spaces, these guys dig super deep.
And there have been times where, as a technical consultant, I've had to log in my character and go fly over to Dalaran to get some screenshots. But it's good to be a mage. You can port around these things.
I mean, the other thing, like Bill, I mean, he's such a fan. Like every day, like when we're working things out, he'll be like, it'd be really cool. This little Easter egg right here. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone's gonna see it. It's like, dude, I got this. And so we're always chasing these little things. You guys, they are putting so much cool little details.
Pay close attention to everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been one of the ambitions, is to strike it on a level where people can enjoy the film who don't know everything about the world, but at the same time have enough things in there, in the subtext and in the environment, and even some of the storylines where you know more than some of the audience will know. So you're going to get even more out of it than what's there for everyone else.
So I think one of the challenging things with taking franchises like this into movies is, how do you partner with a franchise holder? In our case, obviously us. And I think what Legendary has done a great job is that they've always kept us very collaborative. But I thought it might be good to hear from you guys about, working with Blizzard and where the benefit of the collaboration's been and how involved we've been.
Well, I mean, to go back a little bit to what Chris was saying, I mean, I think it was kismet when we first started talking and I gave you my pitch. The relief that that's where you had hoped it was going anyway was really what made it feel like, oh, okay, this is home. This is going to work out all right. I'm not going to be fighting my way through this. We were all kind of already seeing it in the same direction.
Yeah, it was definitely a love connection, like immediately. Like it was good. It was a happy day.
And I think kind of the same things happened on the art side, right, Bill?
I mean, you get, when we talk about designing a character, to have, support from designers who have that in their DNA and know it's a second hand. It just gets that essence of Warcraft without having, automatically in the first go.
I mean, and it goes both ways. I mean, when we work with dev teams internally, everybody gets the Blizzard style, and then we all have this very specific idea of what we want to create. These guys are exactly the same. They plugged right in day one, and we've been running ever since.
It's good to have that mindset, because we do have to work out things. Like Duncan said, we have live action, we have people, and we have live action concerns where, the Warcraft style, if you're going to try to reach over your head to grab something, you have this pauldron that's knocking you in the side of the head. Those are things that we have to work out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'm here. Always like, make the shoulder pad bigger, bigger, and they're just like,
he's gonna fall over.
This is not gonna work, Nick. I'm like, not my problem. Right.
So, what do you think is going to be the most challenging part of this, trying to put this whole thing together?
Well, I mean, we're at the exciting time where we can really see the shooting date coming up on us now. So it's really about just integrating all of these amazing people who are working together, and making sure that we all kind of hit the mark at the same time, and we're all going at speed. A couple of people I also needed to mention is Simon Duggan, who's our cinematographer, who did iRobot, and also you might know him from Great Gatsby as well. And those are both films where there are so many technical layers to the filmmaking. And to me, it was just really important to surround myself with people who understood the intricacies of integrating all of those different layers and making sure that everything that Bill's got to do fits in with everything that Gavin's got to do and all these other departments, because it is an epic quest to get this film right.
It's very challenging on the technical side. When we're done, we leave the stage. Quite often, all you're going to see is a piece of set with a bunch of blue screen, a couple of humans swinging swords at guys in pajamas with little lights on them. So that's got to be translated, and in order to do that right, we have to plan very well to make sure that the finished product is going to live up to what we